It says you're the host.
There we go. Damn. Okay. All right. So I'm sorry. I was kind of like trying to get that situated at the same time.
No problem.
All that was going on. And so I'm just trying to find my light and all that. But yeah, so I appreciate the fact that you took your business background and the things that you already knew and took it to be able to help not just people in situations like you, but other people who didn't really understand how to get to a place like the one that you experienced, because it may have been different if it was kind of run down and raggedy and they
Right.
as, on point. Like there are things that happened there that made it, exciting for you. So, it's great that decided to go into this business because we need you. And I don't even mean just we as a people, but we as a community. And then when you start to think about the lives that are touched through these organizations, that's when you go to sleep and you're like, all right, girl, I did that tonight.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is the goal, knowing that I can impact someone who will be able to impact an entire community.
That's right. That's right. So let's talk, just give me some basics on how to get the process started. Me as a dance studio owner or a dance teacher, what do I need to tell me the documents? Just kind of like how you sent me a list one day.
Yes.
I was like, oh, okay, here you go.
Absolutely. And in all actuality, we do have that checklist. So if any of your followers wants to grab that checklist, we'll make sure that we have that. That's on our website, clarkandclark.org. But the first thing that you want to do is you want to decide who you want to serve and why. Starting a business, I know you have a business and a nonprofit. Any entrepreneur that has actually done some of the work will tell you that it is work. It is work. You're going to be building something. You're going to be showing up sometimes maybe a little bit tired. It is work. It's a work. It's hopefully a labor of love, but it is work. So you want to make sure you pick a mission that you're really passionate about, that your story ties to. You want to know your why. And when you know your why, that's going to exude kind of in your energy when it comes to presenting your nonprofit, and you won't have to be selling. You know what I mean? You'll just be telling your story. So that's the first thing, is like really, and then take whichever area you're going to serve and really niche it down, because I can say, hey, I'm going to be empowering women. Let's get a little bit more specific. How exactly? Through coaching? Are you a firm believer in the power of one-on-one coaching? I know I am. That's one of the things that I really believe in. I feel like that's like can take a 8-year college degree sometimes and put it into a couple of months if you coach it.
Yeah, it really can.
Absolutely. And so how specifically do you want to help these women, and why do you want to help them? If it's youth, I love that for your organization, you're doing specifically dance. And would it be dance in the youth world, or is it in general? Is it what's your age group?
It's dance in the youth world, but the connection to the professional dancers is where it becomes the give back portion, because I work with the Hawks and the Falcon cheerleaders, just for them to come and teach some of the classes. So it's more so towards like K through 12, but I also like to work with the coaches on building their dance business. And that's why we're doing this particular session, because I get a lot of questions about the nonprofit portion of it. And I'm like, I got mine. So here, y'all, let me introduce y'all to somebody who you may not know, who knows what she's talking about. And so that's why we got Tracy Clark here for our webinar on starting a nonprofit. So once we got our niche narrowed down to decide that, okay, we're going to target young girls and boys who like to dance, ages K through 12 in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Mm-hmm. Is that a good?
That's enough. So once you have that, the next thing that you want to do is do a little bit of research. Okay. See what programs are already in existence, and how is your program going to be different? Is there a gap that you're feeling? Have you noticed that there's nowhere, like you said, you actually had history of going to some dance practices, and some will be out in front of the yard, some may be in a boys and girls club, okay, there's a gap right there. Mm-hmm. So maybe there's a specific area so you can feel that, and it's a little bit easier to fill a gap than try to kind of bump heads with someone who's already been doing something and they've already, it's easier to niche down and fill the gap. So the next thing you want is the name of your organization. So you want to figure out what the name is. You want to do a search, find out if the name is available, maybe have a couple of different options. When you're thinking about the name of your organization, you want it to be something that somewhat tells a story automatically when even just saying the name, that people get a vibe and an energy. If it possibly can even say dance or something like that in the name, that's even better. Like your organization name, which I absolutely love.
Oh, thank you. My mom came up with it. But with that name thing, what if, because I did have a situation, we submitted a few different ones.
Yes.
So what if I already have my LLC as Miss B's Studio Inc. And now I want the nonprofit. Now, should it be Miss B's Studio Inc. mentoring program? How should that be adjusted?
That's a great question in a common situation. Yes, you should definitely add something additionally, even though your business is an LLC and you're like, okay, well, that's an LLC and that's a nonprofit. When it comes to naming, it doesn't matter whether it's a nonprofit or LLC. It has to have something in that root name that differentiates it from the LLC. So you would need to add on mentoring or add on another word to differentiate it from your business.
And so just to keep in the loop of branding purposes, that would be something that could be easily just set up as long as you kind of stood along the lines of what your name would be.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So we got our name, we got our niche. All right. What else do we need? We need some people to help us make this thing happen.
Yes. And you want to get those people sooner than later.
Okay.
So you can really start to like divide up that work. Because again, there is some work that goes into play with it. So now what you're going to do is you're going to need a minimum of 3 board members. As founder, you can serve on your own board. That's just a common question that's asked. You can serve on your own board. You need to remember when it comes to the point where you are hiring on paid staff for salaries, that your paid staff title would be a separate title than your board title. So for an example, you may be president and CEO. The CEO can get paid as a staff member. The president is a volunteer position, if that makes sense. So you need to get at least 3 board members. If you're going to serve as president, that's 2, a secretary and a treasurer.
Okay, so if I'm serving as the president and then I got the secretary and the treasurer, how am I getting paid from this? Because I want to get a salary, right? So
absolutely.
How is that possible?
Absolutely. So nonprofits having a staff is very common. It's common for nonprofits to have a staff.
I tell them all the time, I'm like Susan G. Komen, the volunteers at Relay for Life are volunteers.
But there is a staff.
I'm not getting paid, okay? I can guarantee you.
And for you, and funders know that in order for you to run a smooth program, you eventually have to have some paid staff on the program, because when it comes to volunteers, a lot of times they do what they can. But if something takes place and, what's the first thing that goes? Is your volunteer things. If something's going on, you're like, okay, I ain't gonna be able to volunteer for that no more. Rightfully so. You know what I mean?
Now in the midst of all this COVID stuff, I just don't see where people are just as, excited about, hey, let's put our hands in. I be feeling it.
And sometimes people just can't afford to volunteer.
Right.
Sometimes people are like, look, I would love to help you, sis. I would love to help you build this program, but I have to get paid. You know what I mean? I have to be able to put these hours in and get paid for it. And so that's a very common question, is how do you get paid? And basically, it's just like any business. You set up your areas of income. The great thing about nonprofits is that they can actually have multiple additional areas of income that businesses can't, such as grants.
Give them this drip right now. Give it to them, honey.
You get your grants, number 1. You get your in-kind grants, such as property, vehicles, items that you can even sell as a nonprofit and make some income off of. You also have your individual fundraising. What'd you say?
Raffle and give away a car.
There you go. And now you just fundraise for your nonprofit. Absolutely. Not to mention, you can still have the traditional funding as well. So you can have services and products. Think Starbucks is a nonprofit organization. They have a product to where they don't have to really ask anybody for money. Tom's is another nonprofit organization that has a shoe product where people.
The shoes?
Mm-hmm. And they
Okay.
give away a free pair of shoes. There's a socks company too, Bombas, I want to say, that does something very similar. So you can have a product or service and have that fund your nonprofit work, but you can also apply for grants, host fundraisers, and different things like that as well that businesses can't do.
Okay, and so because businesses can't do it, is there a certain amount of money that businesses can receive under a certain taxable amount versus a nonprofit? Because from what I was understanding is that as long as it's under a certain amount, like if people are giving $10 or $20, $5, then that's not necessarily what they would give to the nonprofit. But if they're giving $5,000 or $10,000, then that's more of a nonprofit sector of your business. Is that correct?
That's a great question. So the basis that you really want to understand when it comes to that area is anything that the nonprofit receives that goes towards the betterment of the vision and the mission that the nonprofit has is not taxed. Thus, you are a tax exempt organization. So if you are going to be collecting funds for particular programs and you know that you're going to want to be coaching these girls and this is the area you want to give in, you can take your higher end programs and say, you know what, these are going to be processed through the nonprofit organization because a portion of these funds are going to go towards the area of the community that I want to serve and the young girls who can't necessarily afford this. And as opposed to that $4,000 being taxed by 30% in a business, that $4,000 won't be taxed at all when it comes to a nonprofit.
As long as you keep those receipts, right?
And keep those receipts, exactly. As long as it ties to the mission, as long as it's going to support the mission in some way.
Okay. All right. So now we got our board. We know how we're gonna, get paid. We know how we're gonna make this thing happen because most of us have already gotten a lot of these things. Now, can you talk about the bylaws and just the different articles that they need to have and what should be in each one? And I know you said you do have a printout, and I would love to get that if I don't already have it. Because
absolutely, yeah.
So, if there's, can you just kind of break those down really quick for us?
Sure. So there are about 5 different documents that you need as a nonprofit organization. Number 1 is your EIN. So you have your EIN. That's pretty simple. A lot of people know how to get their EIN. Articles of incorporation is basically your state registry. And what that looks like once you have all your information is basically you telling the state that you now exist. Here's my name. That's one of the parts. Here's my board members. That's the second part. Here's my mission, the mission of the organization. If you want to start on a date other than today, like if you wanted to start it on 11/11 or something, you could put that in there as well. So that's what will go into the articles. It's just, here I am on my physical address. This is where I'm located. This is me as a nonprofit. That's for your articles. Then you have your bylaws, which basically says how the nonprofit is run. Now, there are general rules when it comes to running a nonprofit. So we typically create those general bylaws for you, but then you can go in and adjust things if you want to run things differently as your nonprofit. But in general, it just tells you, hey, we have a board. Our board is voted in. If someone's off of the board or someone needs to get removed from the board, it has to be all done by vote. It just tells how the ins and outs work when it comes to the nonprofit organization.
Okay.
You also have something called a conflict of interest policy.
Okay.
And what that means is that your services are offered to the community as whole. So what that does is it helps you from nepotism, saying I offer scholarships, but really I'm only giving scholarships to my family and my kids and stuff like that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Or discrimination. They want to know that you have an application process in, and these services are going to be open to the community at whole, and everyone will have an opportunity to be able to have access to those services.
Okay. All right. So we got our articles, we got our board, we have our the conflict of interest, which I saw that in mine and I was like, I didn't even know I had to do that. And so once we get all these things, we package it up and we send it to the government and we send it to the state. Am I correct?
Right.
The website.
And the last thing that you add to that is your tax exempt application.
Okay.
So there are 2 types of tax exempt applications. You have a long form and you have a short form. If
Okay.
you're an organization that's bringing in less than, if you're just getting started, if you don't have a large donation pending, like a hospital or like schools with tuitions, if you're about to be making $1 million in the first year or something like that, you need to complete the long form. But most small nonprofit organizations qualify to complete the short form, which has less filing fees and gets approved faster.
All right, talk about those filing fees, because everybody's like, it costs too much. And, sometimes what we don't know is what we don't know.
Absolutely. It's
And
not a cost,
so,
it's an investment. That's one thing you want to remember when it comes to your nonprofit.
right,
Anything that you put into your nonprofit is considered a donation and a tax write-off for yourself.
right.
So you can write that off. That's part of your nonprofit's expenses. And if it's helping you to get a tax exempt status, and which is going to bring you in $50, $60, $70,000 as a nonprofit, it's an investment, if that makes sense. So the filing fee for the 1023-EZ is $275.
Okay.
And then the filing fee for the long form is $600.
Okay.
So
that's when you're super big balling and you're ready to go.
That's when, yeah. But
you
never have to, you will never have to upgrade to the long form. Once you file the short form, you still have the exact same status as those who filed the long form. Okay. So once you file, you're good to go. You're just estimating what you're going to bring in, but you have to, they won't say, okay, well, if you're bringing in this, now you got to do the long form. It doesn't work like that's a common question too.
Okay, and so after they do that, and then you just check with your state. I know in Georgia you have your state filing fee, so you just check with your state and you get it registered with the state as well.
That's right. States normally average around $100 or under. You have a couple of states such as Maryland, but theirs is like $262. So you got $275 and $262.
Okay.
But most states are 99, 30 things like that. And so those are the two biggest fees that you're going to pay, other than the fee that you pay to have someone complete it for you, or if you get a tutorial and things like that. Those are just the filing fees on top of that.
Well, I think people like you are amazing, because as much as I sat on my nonprofit stuff, I needed somebody like you to come help make some magic happen. Hold on, girl. I guess he left his key. Oh, the key upstairs. But that's why we need people like you to, help us in this type of process, because we really don't know we don't know how to do some of these things. We don't know where to get the information. And then sometimes when we get on YouTube, we're like, oh, I know how to do it. And it's like, YouTube will send you down an ugly rabbit hole, and before you know it, it's 2:30 in the morning, and you are like trying to figure out SEO, and you're trying to
what is it?
like, but I was just trying to start a nonprofit. Yeah, but you got to get your website ready. But if I get my website ready, they asking me to set it up to Google, and let somebody do it, baby.
Absolutely. Sometimes you just don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, I'm a big believer in just people operating in their gifts. And even for me, I considered myself a solopreneur for the first probably 5 years. It took me years to realize, you know what? I need to outsource this. I need to outsource that. I need a team. You're only going to be able to grow to the extent that your individual time allows, as long as you operate individually.
And that's what I was doing. And I said, you know what, B, you can be teaching dance class forever and tear your body up, or you can figure out how to make it make sense the right way. And with opportunities like a nonprofit, I can afford the type of staff that that are quality. They're not just people off the street, because I can afford it. Somebody who stands with Beyonce, you have different options, just with doing this. So let me think. I wonder, is there anything else? Oh, okay. So you said after you get your nonprofit status, are there some sites, or do you know, like grant writing? What's the next step once everything goes through and gets approved?
The biggest thing after that is to really make sure you understand and you're educated in the nonprofit area. Now, there's a couple of ways to do that. Of course, there is, like you said, several YouTube videos you can look up. There's a young lady that I follow. It's called Serve Your Community or Bust or something like that. That's her YouTube, and she talks about a lot of nonprofit tips and things like that. I'll send that link over to you. But one of the websites that I really suggest outside of our services, we offer coaching services. So we of course would love to coach you. We have a one-on-one coaching program where we also do group coaching as well. But outside of that, there's a program called Grant Station. It's one of the programs that we personally use ourselves when it comes to searching for grants and also for development as a nonprofit. Not only do they offer grant search and they help you to vet down the grants. Why do I want to use a station website like that instead of just Googling grants? Because there's so many different fake grants and non-vetted grants out there. If you just Google grants, you are about to go down a real rabbit hole. So what this organization does is they find out how much they gave away that year. They make sure it's a legitimate grant. They find out what types of individuals or organizations have can be able to apply for this funding, so that you can just put in nonprofit organizations serving youth in arts, visual arts, or in dance. And they'll just populate, and you'll say in Georgia, and they'll populate all of the grants that are available for you in that specific area. And then you'll be able to look at the grant and see how much they gave last year, what type of organizations they fund, all of those different details. Then on their other side of their website, they also have training. So they'll show you how to write a winning grant proposal, what grants are looking for, marketing things, all kinds of things as well. So that's one of the sites that I think offers a lot of assistance as well. And they're super reasonable.
Yeah, I went there after you had told me about it, just to kind of check it out. And I was like, wow, who even knew this existed? And people are, what I liked about it is they're telling you like, okay, this is who we're giving money to. So you know that this is the direct or the exact person you need to be trying to reach out to. And so I think that this has been amazing, Tracy. I'm so excited about my nonprofit and where it's going from here. I'm excited about just this video alone, and just once I put it out and blast it, just the traction that it will get, because I know that people need this information. I know you do this all the time, girl, so go ahead and shout yourself out, tell them how to find you and all of that.
No problem. Well, again, I'm Tracy Clark from Clark & Clark Nonprofit Consultants. Our website is clarkandclark.org. I'll make sure you have that link and you can add it below. Make sure you tag me as well. We've set up over 4,000 nonprofit organizations, and we've received actually now over $10 million in funding. Absolutely. And I don't say that to boast. I say that to say all of the funding that was made available to be able to be used by organizations that are feeding the community, helping women come out of domestic violence relationships, helping young girls who want to dance but can't afford to dance. All of the things that have been able to be done with these funds, that's the reason why I get so excited about them. Our specific goal and our specific passion is helping minorities to really connect with their purpose, and then how to change their purpose into something that's monetized, into an actual turning their passion into a paycheck. That's our ultimate goal. You can reach out by going to our website, downloading our checklist, and we also have a 15-minute crash course that tells you everything you need to know as well. So you can download those things for free, and then just let me know if you have any questions. We offer a tutorial. We also offer a full package where we do it for you, like the lines received, and we also offer coaching.
And I just want to shout out to Fiverr.
Yes.
This is how I found Tracy, guys. And just once I've used Fiverr for many things, and I have never started out for something like this. However, I've sought out people from Facebook and YouTube and all this other stuff to do this nonprofit stuff for me, my homegirl, cousin, and all of this kind of stuff. But for whatever reason, the stars aligned, and for that night, God sent me to Fiverr, and I found this pretty little black girl talking about she helped nonprofits, and I said, this is exactly who I need to to know. And when I tell you guys, she is full of knowledge, she's full of information, and she's here to help. So I want to say thank you again for joining me on this call, and I look forward to continuing to work with you, not just now, but once Connecting the Lines does what it do, and we can take us a trip to San Tropez or somewhere, girl. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us. Congratulations to Connecting the Lines. And thank you for those who are watching. Thank you so much. I feel like your time is the most valuable thing that you can ever give. So I try to make sure that there is some information someone gets that's invaluable when they give me their time. I hope you guys got something out of this.
Thank you so much. And once again, I'm Miss B from Connecting the Lines, you guys. And y'all make sure you tune in for our Majorette Dance Hero Call that we do every Sunday at 6, every other Sunday, first and third. Y'all don't be trying to jump on here on the second because I ain't going to be there. But the first and third Sunday of each month. And I can't wait to see you guys and continue to connect with you. Thank you so much, Miss Tracy. And we'll see you at Connecting the Lines. Bye.